Gotta figure this out, move things around. How's it going this morning? Maybe. Let's see what's happening. All right, there we go. Good morning. I got it to work. Of course, I had to call in tech support. Oh my gosh. Thank you, Mike. I'm telling you, it's just difficult. Okay, you guys, I gotta put my readers on. Stasha, what are you up to today? You know, I forgot to ask you the other day when we were working. How do you jump on here all the time? Do you really not work at work? Or are you tapping stuff? Okay, guys, I've had a lot of meetings in the last couple of weeks. And of course, I was doing some TikToks, so I did not prepare. But if you guys are doing the TikTok thing, you are welcome to follow me over there. It's just MJ Irmen. It is not Farming Without the Bank. It is MJ Irmen. I'm sort of a mess. Work meeting right now. I'm hoping that is virtual. Stasha. Well, good morning, Bruce. I am MJ Irmen on TikTok, and then on YouTube it's Mary Jo Irmen, and here it's Farming Without the Bank. I know, you guys. Just look up one or the other. But if you're on TikTok, I actually like TikTok besides all the mean people, you know. And then you get the ignorant people who are on there as well. And ignorant meaning like we don't want to learn anything and we know it all. The arrival syndrome, as Nelson called it. Good morning, Jim. How are you? Good morning, Brett. Oh, I was looking at my papers and I don't have anything to look at. Okay. Good morning, Francisco. Well, good morning, David. How's it going? Okay, guys, I will get started. There is a bunch of you on this morning, and I like that you're saying good morning. Thank you. Thank you for being social today. All right. I had some interesting meetings this week. Where should I start? Well, for the last 2 weeks, I guess. I haven't been here for 2 weeks. It's amazing how 2 weeks fly by. Like, I could have swore I was just here last week. Oh, Tracy, they won't know. You don't have to be on TikTok. You can just scroll TikTok. I scrolled TikTok for a long time, and my daughter was trying to give me advice last night on what to do on TikTok because she saw one of my videos. And then when I told her what I was doing on TikTok, she's like, "Oh yeah, that's a good idea." Yeah. I know a few things. But I don't do the dancing and stuff, but Tracy, TikTok has moved. It's like the 40, 50-year-olds. There's even some 60, 70-year-olds on TikTok. So your kids don't know it all. Be a rebel. Don't listen to them. Oh no, sorry, Bruce. Have a good day. Be safe. Okay. Let's start. I did not prepare, so let me look over my notes a little bit. So I had one. This is always funny to me, and I had a couple of these meetings this week. that clients came to me with multiple entities, and they were doing, they're farming, they have a business or a partnership with somebody, and they're like, oh, we're just going to talk about the farming part of it. No. No, because if you're getting money from another business or another venture, I need to know what that is. And I need to know how that money is coming in so that I can best help you. Not that I'm trying to be nosy in any way, shape, or form, but I'm just trying to figure out where I can help and where everything's going. And so in this particular case, I had a nice young man that is farming all on his own. He bought dad out because this was interesting. I said, why'd you buy dad out so early? Because he bought dad out when he was like 21. And he said, because dad was like the between grandpa. Dad always had an off the farm job. He never wanted the farm, but grandpa passed. And now the grandson, right, wants to farm, the one I talked to. But dad was the go-between. So he had to buy the land from siblings or take over from grandpa, and he knew the son was going to want it. So we just bought that to make that transition, which is absolutely awesome. I think it's awesome. And I actually see this a lot where the grandson is taking over from grandpa and grandma, or the grandson's going to be taking over, and mom and dad are already 65, 70 before they get it. And they're like, oh my gosh, I don't know how I'm going to pay for it. Well, let's sell it to the grandkid or, the third generation right away, so that mom and dad aren't saddled with all that debt, and make some sort of an agreement on paper, because essentially you are a partnership. But so anyway, they have this other business that is very lucrative. And then he's got his little farm operation. Well, the farm operation actually sells product to the business. The crazy thing is he's not taking any money out of the business. So he's getting the farm money, but he's not taking any money out of the business because the business is set up. He isn't actually set up as a partner, so it's not showing income to the kid. Well, so all this money is sitting in this business going back into the business. And I said, well, are you on the paperwork? Like, if the business is 50-50 with dad, are you on the paperwork? Well, no. Okay, but you need to be in case something happens to dad. I get the relationship. I 100% know this business needs to function with him. The guy I talked to, it needs to function with him. Dad couldn't even start the business without the bank knowing that the kid was going to be involved because of his knowledge. If that is the case, we need to have something in writing. Okay? The business is an S corp. He actually, and his farming operation is a sole proprietor. His farming operation should not be a sole proprietor. That should also be an S corp, so that money can move differently. Okay? I'm not going to get into like all the details of that because I'm not an accountant. But the son, it's funny because he absolutely is a great farmer. He knows agronomy. He knows all the stuff that he needs to know. But he doesn't care about the finances. He knows enough about it that it makes sense. But dad is the money guy. Like, dad likes cash. He knows how to take a business and make it cash flow. He's done this several times. And so we trust dad 100%. And that's awesome. And I am sure dad is a great guy. But if we lose dad, then what? Then we are trying to mourn dad's death, and we are trying to figure out the finances in between. So we need to pay attention as much as we don't want to pay attention. We need to get involved in the finances. I actually met with a friend this week who also has a business, and we went and had a drink, and she said, well, I just hate the LLC stuff. I hate the S Corp stuff. I hate taxes. It's not what I want to do. I just don't even want to know it. And I drew it out on paper for her, and I didn't let her not know it. I'm sorry. You need to know it. You need to understand it at Not like in depth, maybe, but in baby steps, right? And a lot of times we don't want to understand it because somebody has made it very difficult along the way and used big fancy words and have not explained it. So her accountant, this friend of mine, her accountant she's an S Corp. So with an S Corp, you get income two ways. One through payroll, one through distributions. The distributions are federal and state only, not Social Security, not Medicare. Okay? Payroll, federal, state, Social Security, Medicare. So we're paying this many taxes over here on payroll, and we're paying this many taxes over here on S Corp, on a distribution. Okay? What did her accountant do? Made this payroll really, really high. And I'm like, in my opinion, it was really, really high. More than I pay myself. And I said, why is your payroll so high? I don't know. I just don't want to know. I said, do you understand the difference of how the income comes in? Well, no, I don't. I trust them. Okay. So I explained to her what the difference is. We're like 4-2, right? And she said, oh, so I need to take more distributions and lower my payroll. Because we don't know how much money we're going to make. She also works on commission in her job. I'm like, we don't know how much money we're going to make. We don't know what expenses are going to go up. And so lower that payroll. This particular kid, the money he's getting out of the company is coming to him as payroll. And he's taking a lot of money out of the business. So this should be an S Corp. He should be part owner. Then he could take it as a distribution and lower his income. Now he's leaving it all in there because he doesn't want all this income coming in. But then he's going to the bank and borrowing money. Well, you're borrowing money, but you have all this money in this corporation that you kind of sort of own. How about the corporation lend you the money? Or you take the money out of the corporation and lend it to the farm. But now he wants to be debt free and he has very few loans, super smart about his money. But the way we're moving the money around doesn't make sense because he's so scared of paying taxes on the business that he goes to the bank to borrow money. Why? Why? Let's just make you part owner of the business. You take it as a distribution. You got enough farm expenses that it'll probably bring those taxes down anyway. And talk to your accountant about this because I am not an accountant. But just from running my own business, I know how the moving around goes, right? So visit with a good accountant that understands the moving around. My friend, the accountant that she has is local to me. I know this accountant personally. I do not use her because she is so scared of an audit that she will make you pay more taxes than go through an audit. Some accountants are absolutely deathly terrified of an audit. The accountant that I use, and the reason I use him, he is not like the most creative guy in the world, but he was an IRS auditor for 30 years. And he was like he got like the top IRS auditor award like some years back, 2010 or something like that. So I know that what I'm doing, if he's okay with it, it can be justified in an audit. And I'm not scared of an audit because I have a good accountant that understands that. And I have learned about the audit process. It's not really that scary if you have your books and you keep your books. Okay. Good morning, Brandy. Back to school you go. Hey, David. Is having a business and farm both in an S Corp easier for money to flow? It depends how much money you have. And so here is what I have had 3 accountants over the years, and some better than others, obviously, why I have different ones, but they have all been consistent to say, if you have if you have income, net income more than $40,000 a year, then it is worth being an S corp. And so sometimes in the farming world, if we are not paying taxes and we're buying stuff to avoid taxes and we're just writing stuff off and writing stuff off and writing stuff off, then it may not pay to be an S corp because you're going to have to file an extra tax return. That's an extra charge. And so, it's ironic to me how many people that I see and they say, "Oh, my accountant told me not to be an S corp." Even this friend of mine, the amount of taxes that she paid last year was insane for 2021 because her accountant, this is what her accountant said to her. "Oh, you're not going to make that much more money next year." You what? How do you know how much money I'm going to make? Shut the front door, right? You can't tell me how much money I'm going to make. And so she killed it. She absolutely killed it in her business because she is a worker. She promotes. She works her buns off to make the money. And she made more money than most people in her industry would ever make at that point. But because the accountant was very short-sighted, he did not file her as an S corp designation. Okay? She was already an LLC, but he didn't put the S corp designation on. If you don't do that within the first 3 months of the year, if you're an LLC and you don't file the S corp designation the first 3 months of the year, then guess what? You can't. You can't. You're done. How do I know this? Because it happened to me as well. I had an accountant who I love, family friend, and he did not file my S corp designation paperwork. That was the year my business took off. And guess what? You can't go back. You can't go back. Now, my accountant figured out how to do it because he knows the IRS. But it should not. There just happened to be a loophole, right? And he knew what it was. Her accountant? Nope, they didn't. They just making her pay the taxes for 2021. Ridiculous. Because your accountant thinks you're not going to make money. Even my accountant said to me, the first year that I made a significant amount, which was like 2020, he's like, "Oh, you probably won't do that again next year." Why wouldn't I? Don't tell me how much money I'm going to make. As much as I love him because he's an auditor, that one comment, he almost lost his job. And believe me, if I could find another accountant equally as good, and I have been interviewing people for the last year, because that one comment set me off. Don't tell me how much I'm going to make. We are in business to make a profit. And when we make a profit, it is your job to make sure that we are taking that profit correctly. Not avoiding taxes on it, taking that profit correctly, and doing the smart thing to reduce taxes. So what do? I spend a lot of my time listening to accounting podcasts, talking to colleagues, seeing how they are reducing their taxable income, reducing their taxes, because we're all doing it not the same way, but we're not buying things to avoid taxes. We are buying things to create more cash flow that could help on the tax side. Okay? So I am having to go do all this work myself because I've yet to find an accountant that does. And that most accountants don't because they don't have the time. They're kind of like doctors, right? Doctors don't know about every single thing. They don't research it because they don't have the time. Now, when I bring something to you, I want you to understand it and be open-minded. And my accountant does. When I bring something to him, he can tell me yes or no or why not or whatever. But that at least he can tell me that. What are the pros? What are the cons? But don't tell me I'm not going to make money, and don't tell me I should put money in an IRA to avoid taxes. Oh, for the love of Pete, you know what I do for a living. Why would you even suggest that? I digress. This kid needed to move they need to figure out some stuff on the side. Okay. I had another very sweet young couple that are in partnership with a guy, and they have like 3 entities, maybe 4. They're restructuring, they're doing some stuff. And he also is he's actually set up correctly. The partnership that they're in, the business pays his S corp, and then his S corp pays payroll and distribution. Okay, so that is a great setup. He gets the money in from the partnership, and then the partnership pays their personal S corp, and then their personal S corp will pay payroll, and then they will pay distribution, which is absolutely correct. Okay, here was a situation where I tried to be very neutral. And typically, if it is somebody that's read my book and I get a good feel for them, I am going to be protective because that's my nature. And so in their situation, the majority owner of this partnership was bringing in another partner. And I said, well, why are we bringing in another partner? Oh, because he was an employee. Because this other employee has grown the business, one side of the business, because there's essentially three pieces. He's grown one piece of that business so quickly that it's hard to say, well, this piece has these expenses and this piece has these expenses. And he's having trouble with the accounting of what portion of the business do we have expenses for a forklift? What portion of the business do we have expenses for fuel? Right? And I said, so we're going to bring another partner in, but we're still not going to have good accounting. The solution is not to necessarily bring somebody else in and make it messy. The solution is to just hire a bookkeeper and figure out the management pieces of it. In this partnership as well, we have a umbrella and then we have LLCs underneath. Okay. So this guy is a partner on the umbrella, but he's not listed as partners on these other LLCs. So, but he is driving one of those LLCs as well. So what happens if that LLC just goes bye-bye? If the majority owner that owns that LLC just says, you know what, we're dissolving that, done. Do I still get it in the umbrella? Do I need to be a part of those LLCs as well then, percentage-wise? Does it get covered that way? And a question for an attorney, for sure. Okay, how is it going to look with the new partner coming in? How are the wives going to be bought out? We need to have insurance on everybody inside of there. Because how are the wives going to be bought out? What's going to happen when that partnership, if it dissolves? What's going to happen if we have issues? What happens to my percentage of the partnership if I die? Does it go to my spouse? Does it go to my spouse's kids? How long do I have to buy them out? There is a lot now because we're bringing on a third partner. And we already have a little bit of issue. Not a lot, but we can see some issues down the road with some personalities. And so if we're going to continue down that road, we better darn well figure out how the exit strategy is going to be and how things are going to be handled today while everybody's still okay. Okay? So they were getting the money and it was coming to them correctly. It's the part of the business he's bought into. They have grown so quickly that what's happened is they have not managed, they've not worked on the business, right? They're just working in it and they're making sure that they've got customers coming in and cash flow is coming in. But we've ignored the actual structure of the business. And that happens to every single person that I know, that they're growing what happens is we're growing so fast, we want to keep growing, but in order to quit, we're going to have to slow down the growth in order to figure out the structure and have these meetings and have all this time. Well, our business almost has to come to not a halt, but a slowdown in order to get the structure correctly, so then we can take off again. It's not always a bad thing, okay? But if we have businesses, we need to do that. Good morning, Caleb. You're welcome, David. Hey Danielle, how are ya? Oh, it's sunny there. That's nice. We're gonna have sun today too. Okay, let me see what else we got here. Kind of along those same lines is I had another client this week that dad passed away suddenly. Mom, he is now having to help mom with all of the finances of what's going on, and there is some extra money coming in just from energy type stuff. So we've got some money coming in that mom's not going to need to sell the farm to him in order to live. And so what does that look like? And he had an accountant tell him that she has to sell him the equipment at appraisal cost. She has to. No, an attorney said that. She has to sell the equipment at whatever the cost is today, the value it is today. And he's like, I said, what? No. And he asked an accountant, and accountant's like, no, she can sell it to you at whatever price she wants to sell it to you at. And I said, I've never heard that. So I have lots of clients that have passed away, and the equipment has been given. The land has been sold for $1. Like, she can kind of do whatever she wants within the guidelines if there's some tax implications, or we want step up in basis, or whatever we want. And so he's really having to navigate mom and help her with this process, because dad didn't really tell her a lot of what was going on with the finances. And ironically, he's doing the same thing. He's not really sharing with his wife what's going on, because she has a lot of questions, and maybe the way she's phrasing the question is not coming across correctly. And so there's just no communication. So I said to him, well, what happens if you pass away tomorrow and she has to figure out where you have the loans? She's going to have to figure out who to sell the land to, or what to do with the land, and what's going on with the bank. And you know what happens. All of you know, when somebody passes away, the neighbor vultures come out, the family vultures come out, the bank vultures come out, right? And if we don't know what's happening, how do we know who to trust? So if you don't want to include her and answer her questions, I would beg for you to reevaluate that. But if you choose not to, because that's just how your relationship is, please at least let her know where she can go to get that information. And if the roles are reversed, let him know where he can go to get that information. Okay? Super, super, super important to have those conversations, because when somebody passes away, prepared or not, there are still a lot of loose ends. This gentleman was making a lot of money on the farm just because he's not buying things to avoid taxes. He's trying to do a lot of no-till, a lot of regenerative agriculture, which was really ironic for me to see when he's farming 8,000 acres. So that was exciting. I talked to another guy yesterday or the day before that he was farming really large acreage as well, and he was going to no-till, not necessarily regenerative, although he was planting some cover crops, so that would be down that same line. But he was also going to no-till instead of tillage. And the expense on the tillage versus the no-till is huge, and I can see those numbers with most of my farmers, just because the hired help is huge on the tillage side. But please talk to your spouses. In this scenario with this client whose dad just passed away, we need to insure mom. We should be insuring an aunt as well that owns some land. Even the last guy I talked to, he was renting land from his aunt, but she's very kind of a nervous Nelly, he said. So chances are we're not going to be insuring her, because he's like, yeah, she'll probably think I'm going to kill her. Some people just don't like to have insurance on one another. All right. Then I had another guy who is farming with dad. Dad's getting older. He is 78. And so that transition is going to have to, it's starting to happen already with just the workload and those sort of things. But they have land that is close to a town, and big, huge national company wants to come in, buy some of that up, make it a plant, a shipping plant. And so they are having to decide, what's going to kind of happen there if that goes through. I've had other clients that has happened to, that big companies will come in, Walmart, Amazon, tech companies, Verizon, whatever, will come in and buy this land, and then they have to move. And the family land is gone because town is expanding. And you can hold out, or you can take the money, because it's probably inevitable that that's going to happen. People are moving to towns. But this guy, it was funny because he said, I've listened to the book twice. I've listened to your book twice. I've listened to Nelson's book twice. And I've binged on all the podcasts. I had a couple people say that to me this week, that I've binged on all the podcasts. It's amazing, you guys, the difference between those of you that listen to the podcast and read the books, and those of you that just read my book and come in. The education level is 100% different. The people that listen to the podcast and read the books know exactly what the infinite banking concept is. They don't care so much about the numbers. How much are we going to put in? They understand the more that you put in, the better. They understand that when we put it in, we can take it back out. Nelson said you put peanuts in, you get peanuts out. Sometimes all we have is peanuts to work with, and that's okay. Other times we don't. I have a new client that we were ready to submit all of his stuff through, and he makes quite a bit of money, and we were ready to submit all of his stuff through, and he said, you know what, I listened to Mr. Nelson's book again, and I don't think I'm putting enough money in the policy. I'm always going to be in this situation where I don't have to go to the policy to borrow money because I'm going to have too much cash on hand. I said, yes, you are. This is where you wanted to start. He said, I think I need to start bigger. And so we're going to start bigger, because we can take small steps, and I'm all for that because I myself have taken small steps. But at some point, we have to recognize we're not truly using the concept if we're never going to the policy. We're not using the concept if we're not filling the policy full. So if we are there's two premiums we can pay. We can pay the minimum, we can pay the maximum. If we pay the minimum all the time, why? What are we not doing to circle our money through? What are we not understanding about the concept? We need to be paying full premium, turn around, borrow against it, use it for whatever we need to. That's the whole point of the policy. The policy is not a savings account. And that is what one of my young couples said to me this week is, oh, well, at 65, I'll have X amount of dollars. I'm like, at 65, your $400,000 or $500,000 is pocket change. It doesn't matter, because you guys are so young. Inflation's going to kill you. And so I actually have a calculator that will show what somebody in their 30s, I can plug in everybody's numbers. And these guys were like 27, 28. And I plugged in the calculator. If they want to live on $100,000 at 65, it's going to be $400 and some $1,000 a year to live like you live today on 100 with 4% inflation. Right now, inflation is more than 4%. They're saying at 7, it's more like 10. And so if we can't really save ourselves into retirement, the point is, how can we use the money in the policy for the unseen, to go create things that are going to generate cash flow, to start a business that we can maybe sell later? Something like that. We need to have the money in the policy, yes, but we also need to be doing other things to create cash flow, to either put more in or create other income on the other side. Okay. I already talked about them. Then I had some existing clients who want to convert to term, or who want to convert their term insurance to whole life. So when I write term insurance, which I do write quite a bit of term insurance, it is convertible to whole life. So our health exam stays with us through the length of the term, and then we can convert it to whole life. These guys have had term insurance for quite a few years. I want to say 5 probably. And now they are going to be in a position in 12 months from, or yeah, about 12 months from now, or 8-9 months from now, they are going to be in a position where they have this one major debt and he's going to throw a lot of money onto it. They're going to pay it off and free up $100,000 a year. So we were talking about doing a policy and moving it over into moving their term to whole life and doing $60,000 to maybe $80,000 of premium a year. And the wife was like, no, it's too much money. We don't have it. And I would explain to her, like, well, you're going to get rid of the payment, so we're going to have it. Then we'd go back to talk about numbers. The husband and I would go back to talk about numbers. And she's like, oh, that's too much. We don't have it. And so finally, after about 2 or 3 times of that and me trying to explain it, I just stopped. And I said, okay, let's say we do not have it today. You are correct. Don't have it today. In 12 months from now, or in 9 months from now, that loan is gone. 100% gone. Done. In 24 months, we are going to have commodities to sell. We're going to have cattle, we're going to have grain, whatever. We are going to have an excess of $100,000 because we don't have that loan anymore. We do not have to pay that loan. That money, it's done. So now we're going to have an extra $100,000. What are you going to do with it? It's going to be sitting in your account. If you don't put it in a policy and you don't be an honest banker, what's going to happen with it? You're going to spend it. You're going to buy something with it. Or you're going to call, if you're super frugal, you're going to call and you're going to be like, well, I have all this money. Now what do I do? If you don't call the first year, in 6 years, you're going to call and be like, I have $600,000. So we're just trying to plan ahead to look at what do we do with this money. And she was not quite understanding or following that. And we finally it did make sense. But she has, and I told her, because we laughed about it, and I said, you have what is, like, I refer to as financial PTSD. You guys have struggled for so long because they've gotten all this debt paid off. I said, you have struggled for so long that you are freaking out about not having money, and you actually have money. Because we're so used to the struggle that's automatically how our body reacts. And I get it. I was there. I still have that reaction at certain times. I'm like, oh my gosh. Because I was so used to the struggle to get started when we did not have the money, right? And so definitely something to look at and consider, and just relax your mind and think about, what are we going to have? Finances trigger a lot of people, and they don't need to. We just need to slow it down and think about it, okay? So we'll be starting those in increments. Instead of converting it all at once, we need to start them in increments, but I need to see that the money's there first, and that, we're banking on great commodity prices. They've got some better crop insurance that they're purchasing. And so we have to look at that. Now, ironically, I do believe, and I did not ask, that he's the one that keeps the numbers. Okay. And again, if there's not a lot of communication there, or if she's not listening to the podcast and she's not doing the continual education on infinite banking, then we're going to have a disconnect and we're not going to understand it. And it happens the majority of the time. If somebody does not understand why they should be putting more money in, it's because we don't either have the education, or we have a spouse that's not educated on it. And so we're fighting the system. We're constantly fighting the system. and it's difficult. All right, went over that one. Oh, this was a fun meeting. I met with some people that have 20 acres of veggies. And that was a fun conversation because a lot of people don't know that there is not crop insurance for vegetable farmers. And when they get hailed out or droughted out, they're done. Done. Nothing you can do about it. And so they have really taken some precautions to eliminate that. But they also have done an amazing job of marketing and paying cash for everything, and it's awesome. Here's the one thing that I don't come across a whole lot, but I do come across it. They have a child with a disability. And I have several clients with children with disabilities. But in their case, and I always ask, if your child has a disability, who's going to take care of that child when you pass away? Is it going to be a sibling? Is it going to be a caregiving facility? Who is going to take care of that child? And they are going to need to be compensated, because if that child needs 24/7 care, or at least somebody at home and can't be home alone, then when you pass away, somebody has to quit their job to take care of this sibling. There is a rider that I can put on the policy that is called a survivorship rider, so that when let's say that dad passes, his death benefit then can be, an insurance policy can be bought on mom's life at the age that she is today. So in their scenario, I believe she is 53. So dad has his life insurance policy, and we can buy term insurance on mom at 53 years old. When dad passes, his death benefit will buy a life insurance policy on mom at 53 years old, even if she's 85. We'll buy a policy on mom at 53. That death benefit on mom then will go to the child that is taking care of the disabled child, or whoever is a facility, whatever, into a trust, whatever it is to take care of the disabled child. And so with their policy, not only are we talking cash value and all this other stuff, but we are making a plan for this disabled child that we've not really made the plan for yet. But oh my gosh, fantastic people. It was so fun to have a conversation with them and just learn about how they're doing their greenhouses, how they're expanding. I forget, I think he said that, I didn't make notes. I think he said that they grow like 29 different vegetables. So that was super fun. And because they're farming all on cash, they have the money to do stuff. It's just a matter of slowly moving it in to a policy. Another young couple that both have off the farm jobs, and then they have a little farm, farming with dad. And it was a matter of, dad passes away. Are we going to have to buy out the siblings? What does that look like? But in this case, and so we'll be able to start something because they're super smart about their money as well. The thing here is that the wife has had, at 26, we have had blood clotting issues. And so I don't know if she's going to be insurable, but if she is, we might go in and get as much insurance on her as we can right away, just for that reason, because we don't know if she's going to become uninsurable later. So you don't know, you guys, you just don't know what's going to happen. Let's see. Oh, yes, the week before. Last week, I had 2 clients from New York. New York is a struggle. I am not going to lie, and I will never lie to anybody. New York, working with and doing anything in New York is a challenge. The fact that they are they're over the top. But these wonderful kids are he is working for a dairy and managing a dairy, and his dad has managed a dairy for like 25 years. Neither one of these dairies have their poop in a scoop. Nobody knows who's going to be in charge. The families aren't taken over. They have an opportunity to maybe buy into the dairy that they're at now. Not partners of it, but they really are going to have like some transition of, do we buy into this dairy when the owner of dad's dairy passes away and dad can buy it? Do we want to go back and work on that dairy instead? They have a lot, and they're making good money. They do not have a whole ton of loans. They are being super smart about everything. And so we can start something very, very small. But again, figuring out kind of where are we going to be? What does that look like? There's some transition there, but they are going to need to save and be frugal. So when that time comes, they have the money to buy in to either of those places. Okay. So if you are young, if you need to sacrifice today so that we can make sure that you have something later, you might need to do that. I talked to another guy that was 75 last week, and there was just nothing that we can do for him. He did not have the money, and he was 75. He was super mad because he had bought term insurance and it ran out and they would not insure him again, and he was furious. Nobody had ever told him that. There's a lot in the life insurance world that people just don't know. And so I'm like, yeah, that's term insurance. The premium's going to triple, quadruple, and you might not be insurable. So now he's 75 trying to figure out what he's going to do with this farm and who he's going to pass it off to. And we don't have any insurance to do so. So tough. That I don't like having those conversations, but there was nothing that I could do with him. We did talk about, well, if the kids don't want it, can we leave it to the siblings and then they'll get it to the grandkids because the grandkids are super young but showing interest. But there's no way to do that with any kind of life insurance at this point. Let's see what we got here. Man, I'm going a long time today. This one was interesting. We're farming with, this one's kind of messy. Mom and dad got divorced. Dad won't give up his half of the farm. The daughter is coming in and farming and taking over. It's messy. And so what's going to happen there? I have no idea. But the daughter is very smart about what she's doing. They are making a profit. It's just a matter of figuring out what happens when dad decides to sell or doesn't sell, or are we sticking money into something we don't know about? It's been so long and dad just drags it out that she's like, you know what? I'm not going to stop my life. I'm just going to keep on going. So that was awesome. And then they have a little venue on their farm as well. And so that wedding venue or income from the venue is going to help mom live. So that's pretty awesome as well, so that they can, if her and her husband are running the farm, mom has income because she's not doing anything with the farm. Okay, then I talked to another guy that is doing organic, conventional, irrigated. He's got some cows. They are doing all kinds of stuff, which is absolutely fantastic. They have a child that is working with them. And they didn't have a whole ton of stories that I can share. Just the fact that they do have a couple contract for deeds on their land, which is really, really nice. I did have another client this week that had some contract for deeds, or, you know, where the owner is financing them. And one of them was that they had an owner finance, and the owner's been financing them for 10 years and doesn't want to finance them the next 5. So now they have to go to the bank and buy them out, which they're not. They're only like in their early 70s, and they want to quit owner financing. Such a scarcity mindset. You've already done it for 10 years. They've made the payment. Why give up these extra 5 years of interest? It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I had another one this week where they wanted to owner finance, and they said that the one brother will, but the other brother won't. And the brother that's the banker will owner finance them. I said, then the banker brother needs to buy out the other brother and owner finance you the whole amount. If he wants to, but there would really be no reason not to. So it is I don't understand why people are so scared to keep owner financing if we can help somebody out and if you're going to make the interest. Just write a contract so that it continually goes to your estate. I don't understand why it's so difficult, but okay. Hey, Brent. I don't know if I said hey. I think I did. Good morning, James. James from New York. James, I just got done talking about New York. If you can, without it mecking, and if it is whole life and not universal, not variable, not indexed, if it is built to hold more money into PUAs and it's a mutual company, then yes, I would. You're going to want to maximize it so that you have access to cash, depending on, who the company is, all that kind of stuff. But you should be able to talk to your agent and see about that stuff. Okay. And then, of course, I don't know all of your financials, James, what you've got going on with the rest of your debt and all that. James, if you've read my book, then you should schedule an appointment. And if you can use that policy, I'll tell you to use that policy. If you can't, you can't. But then I can give you a better idea of yes, you should, or no, you shouldn't. But if you're going to do that and schedule with me, ask your agent if you can and how much you can put in there before it mechs. And then when we talk, you'll have that information. All right, guys, a lot of you hung in here till the end. Kudos to you. If you are a client, an existing client that is paying premium, I have a private Facebook group for you, and we are trying to get as many people added to that Facebook group as we can, and I am giving information in there that is necessary for clients only. So make sure that you can message me, you can email Jess or Tiara. Tiara will be reaching out to you with, you'll get an email from MJ or Mary Jo at Without the Bank with a link to that group. So make sure that you are joining that group. And because we got some pretty cool things coming up. Otherwise, if you have not gotten the book Farming Without the Bank, Life Without the Bank, Becoming Your Own Banker, if you've not been listening to the podcast, please do so. Please join in as well. Do you guys see my new shirts? Here, let me show you. Keep calm and farm on. Aren't they without the bank? Of course, it says on the bottom. So if you want a shirt, you can go to farmingwithoutthebank.com, go to the store, and you can order yourself a shirt. I have a couple of them in there. I have one that is 100% German, no sugar coating as well. So, go get yourself a t-shirt. And as always, if you guys have questions or need anything, you know where I'm at. I'm happy to help. Email me, message me here, whatever. Share the information. I appreciate it. But thank you all for being here today. You have a great weekend, and I'll see you here in a couple weeks. Have a good one.